Right, let's do it then. Coach Helen for You Fit Studio. Talking about how to feel full and lose weight, right? It's not a mythical unicorn. It is an actual thing you can do. You can feel full and lose weight. It is possible to do. It's not something that people will probably do standard in their meals to start with, understandably, because they're not going to know how, which is where I step in. So I'm going to tell you how to make some changes to your nutrition and still magically stay full while consuming less calories, which is, as we know, the name of the game. So in case, I'm going to talk about, when am I doing the energy balance? I'm definitely doing the energy balance before release of lockdown. I can guarantee you that now. Faux show. However, in the meantime, I'm actually just going to go over thinking about energy balance. The way to lose weight, as we know, is to consume less energy or less food to create a calorie deficit, enough of which with your activity to elicit fat loss. Right, so when thinking about that, then how can you possibly still remain full and lose weight? That's what it sounds like. That must be witchcraft. No, it is not. There are some things you can do. I have covered them before. However, I'm going to consolidate them all in the same place, right? Because I've kind of bitted and bodded them all over. And sometimes it's good just to do an overview of some things you can do to help. Now, anybody who has been watching or listening to these for a while will know I'm going to talk about protein probably off the bat. Lots of benefits of protein. I'm sure I've done a live just about protein all on its own because it's so magical. However, if you want to feel full, ensure that, hey Kate, you have a protein with each meal. Now, there's lots of reasons for that. The main one is that actually it does keep you feeling fuller. Yes, I know it's not pure protein, and yes, that's something to consider, right? So let me put a caveat on that, because when I've talked about it before, I have not, and this time I will. Because if we're talking about any protein source from a animal point of view, it will generally, I'll talk about protein plant-based as well. However, with generally protein from an animal source, as in meat, you will usually have some kind of level of fat content with it. So when I'm saying have protein in the meal, I'm probably not going to say duck or lamb that's really high fat content. Consider a lean meat or the leanest meat that you can consider in terms of adding that. And yes, no, okay, I'm not going to talk about turkey, hate it. But you can, I was talking to a client only yesterday about 2% pork mince that exists, right? These things exist. Look for the leaner types of meat. Because then you can be assured that it will still be a lesser calorie content than chopping down on lamb chops every meal, because that is not, for example. Okay, so that's point number one. I've got like 9 of these, by the way. Number 2, again, I've talked about this before, fibre-rich foods. Okay, you're kind of looking, it's anything, I always look double digits, if I'm honest, and that sounds, grams of fibre a day, by the way. And that might sound like that's really achievable. You will be surprised at how many clients are not hitting double digits on their fibre, because actually they're probably not having enough vegetables or fibrous vegetables with their meals. Lots of people will consider a salad as a vegetable, and arguably, yes, it is. However, in terms of big chunky like cauliflower, carrots, broccoli, green beans, mange tout, okra, anything like that, there is usually one kind of limp, couple of limp beans and some carrots, small amount of carrots. And that can often be it, actually. Now, from a fibre point of view, if you're adding an adequate, and this is where it gets interesting, you can, if you bump up your meals with more vegetables over an additional portion of carbs, get this, statistics, you can reduce your calorie intake by 10% with very few negative effects. Actually, with no negative effects, other than the fact you might need to go to the toilet, which is no bad thing either. Okay, so you're reducing, you're bulking up the meals, so you're increasing the fibre, so you're slowing down the breakdown of carbohydrates as well, by the way, but also you are filling up your meal. So you're consuming more bulky food with less calorie intake. And that's a good one, right? Because essentially, if I said to you, okay, let's have 2 or 3 extra portions or fists of vegetables over that extra portion of mashed potato, You will definitely consume make your mashed potato at least 10% calorie intake by switching that out. So bear that in mind, that actually you can lose weight and feel full by bulking out on vegetables. There's a reason to it. Lots of people don't like to do it. However, there is a reason. Number 3, pick solids over liquids to feel fuller and lose weight. Okay, so if you take a solid snack over a liquid snack, for example, not to advocate snacks, and we know why, you are 38, get this, I don't know, studies show that you're 38% less likely to overeat in the next meal. So if you are somebody who goes for, and when I say, by the way, when it's going, but you talk about super shakes, yes, super shakes are different because they are quite substantial, so we say. If you go for a liquid snack, which is just, okay, let's use the protein powder and water, then you're not likely to stay full for very long, let's be honest, and it's not likely to keep you full for longer. And yeah, you're going to be overeating in the next meal because you're going to be Hank Marvin. I'm from London. Was that what you're talking about? Starving, you will be. So think about that. Always consider, if you're going to go for a meal, consider, and by the way, just so you understand why that happens, a liquid meal is far easier for you to digest, your digestive system, so it will use it and convert it to what it needs to far faster. So that can be a benefit if you need something quick energy, for example. However, in terms of keeping fuller for longer, unless you're bulking out, like I said, and going for a super shake, which would have a portion of carbs, a protein, a vegetable, and a fat all in it. So we would take it from, I don't know, 120 calories up to 350, 400 calories if you're female, maybe 6 if you're a male. Then, you know, you can see how it can make a difference. But again, liquids, easily digestible. Solids, if you're doing it in the portions and with some fibre, will keep you fuller for longer. Coffee. She says drinking tea. So here's my last tea of the day, I promise. Coffee. People talk about coffee a lot. Oh, if I have a coffee, I don't need to eat. Yes. There is... Okay, I have to write this down because this is not something that just rolls off the tongue. It increases the release of a peptide YY. That means nothing, really. What it means is, what it is a hormone that promotes fullness. So this is why you feel fuller with coffee. Or some people... if I'm asking them to intermittently fast or anything like that, black coffee is something I will ask them to have. It doesn't interfere with anything else happening in the body. And also it does release that hormone. So there is method to the madness. Now, that being said, you know what I'm going to say next. That does not mean having 7 coffees a day will help you lose weight. It will make you go nuts and probably unmanageable energy levels and very swings between anything else and no sleep. So... in moderation, like everything, preferably only 2 and finishing by 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it comes to coffee. Those are things that can help. Water, number 5, water. Water is a good one, right? 2 glasses of water before a meal, statistics, can lead to, right, depending on the size of the glass, 22% less calorie intake in a meal. I advocate this a lot with water anyway. Also, thank you. Check that out. That's my 6th of the day. Water before a meal, okay, will help you consume less calories and also helps with digestion. So again, will sense of fullness, yes. Help with dehydration, yes. Help digestion, yes. Help you feel fuller for longer, yes. And consume less calories, yes. Okay, does work. Here we go. Number 6, eating mindfully. Now, love this. I've come across this over the years, and I'll try and explain this as best I can because I think I first was taught this in a course. Oh Lord, what year are we in? About 4. What year are we in? About 4 years ago. And actually, if I think about any course about nutrition or mindfulness or psychology I've been to since it's been referenced, either in depth or just kind of referenced upon in a sentence, and I haven't I'm not going into the in-depth version of this. I will talk about what happens with mindfulness. So there's an experiment where they gave 2 groups of people a milkshake in one of those kind of like, you know, the old, I can't talk about a brand. They used to have these tins of milkshakey stuff. And on one, the contents was the same, by the way. I'm going to state this. The milkshakes were the same. The 2 tins of milkshakes had one group for one and one group the other. What they did was change the labels. So on one label of milkshake, they called it indulgence, like rich chocolatey indulgence. Indulge yourself. Chocolatey goodness. Naughtiness, right? And then put it on the label and labelled it with 620 calories, right? So they gave the whole group the same milkshake in a tin with an indulgence, chocolatey indulgence. And then the other group, they gave them a label that just said calorie sensible intake of milkshake, very basic, 120 calories. Now what's interesting is that they timed then how long it took both groups to drink the milkshake. Now the indulgence group, because they truly believed they were indulging, they were like, oh, I'm in it. This is amazing. I'm indulging right now. It says so on the label. They drank the milkshake far slower, and actually majority of them didn't finish because they were taking the time to appreciate and be mindful because they truly thought they were indulging. What happened was that their hunger dropped off a lot faster. So some of them didn't finish. They felt like, oh, it's very sickening. Oh, it's too rich for me. I can't finish. It's too indulgent. The other sensible group was smacking it back, right? Now, who consumed the most calories? The group that smacked it back. Now, all milkshakes, just confirm again, all milkshakes had the same amount of calories in, right? There was nothing different about the contents. They're all simply ingesting the same amount of calories in that moment because of the perception and the mindful awareness of what they were drinking. One group was like, no, I can't possibly drink it. I'm going to have to leave that because it's just far too much. The other group were like, what? So being aware is, and how we engage with our food is actually a huge part of how we interpret and deal with calories. Like, think about when you psychologically go into a splurge or a treat, etc., how you approach it. What is it that you're indulging in, right? It's an interesting study. Totally hope that comes across. That's why it's been referenced so much, because it's literally how psychology works with mindfulness and eating. Number 7 now. This one, again, approach, it's a bit like coffee. I'm like, I know this is true, and I'm hesitant. Because I know behaviourally it can go wrong. Dark chocolate. Yes, I know some people are like, I hate it. Right. However, 70% and above, there is something in it. It's steric. I can't pronounce it properly. Essentially, it slows down digestion. There's something in it that increases the sensation of fullness over milk chocolate or white chocolate. And even there is a study, again, some content for next week saying, you said it on the live, so I've been doing it. Even the smell, apparently, of dark chocolate can help decrease appetite. So we were like sniffing dark chocolate. However, statistics and studies, that's all I'm going to say. Now, number 8, this is another one as well that works. Eating on smaller plates. There are plenty of my clients eating on a side plate, right? Now, it's not because they want to torture themselves. It's because actually, theoretically, the size of meals they actually do require to lose weight proportionately to their physique. If they are female and smaller build, for example, putting it diplomatically, then their portions of their meals, actually, if you think about the portions we talk about, the palms, etc., cupped hands, fists, etc., their thumbs, if they have small thumbs, then actually putting that all onto a really big dinner plate can be quite disheartening for a client, because they're like, especially next to their other half who may be male, and they're like, boost, right? Because they can eat that and get away with it, right? So the things to do is a trick of the mind. It's a bit like the mindfulness thing with the label. The trick of the mind is to use a smaller plate, because actually it's the same amount of food on it. You're not decreasing the amount of food. What it gives is the illusion of a full plate, all right? And the brain still perceives it's having a full meal, a massive meal, and can only, it again, leads, like with the labelling, leads to a feeling of fullness faster, because the perception is they're eating a big meal, right, because of the size of it. Now, interesting, this one, again, I did read this study and I was like, oh, I don't know, not tried this one. So I can't give him my seal of approval. However, apparently, using a larger fork can decrease calorie intake by 10%. Now, how does the theory on that works? I'm yet to test it. I might have to test it myself. It doesn't apparently work with larger spoons, just to clarify. So don't use a spade, because you can still get ice cream in on a spade. However, because that can be up by 14%. There you go. But something about large forks. Who would have thought? You'd thought it'd be smaller forks because you'd be able to get less on. Apparently not. It's larger forks reduce calorie intake. So combining a smaller plate and a larger fork, who knows? You'd be down a lot. Last one, number 9. And people would kind of misplace this one. We talk about this a lot actually with clients. Sleep, okay? Getting sleep is important and imperative in terms of your fullness, your hunger and fullness. This statistic I've known for a while, seen it in different formats. However, essentially, you can look in at around about 24%, which is high, 24% increase on your appetite when you've not had a great night's sleep. Ever consider a time where you've had a really bad night's sleep, your mood is already quite tested, you will know, if you cast your mind back, you've been more tempted by, oh, do you know what I could fancy right now? And let's be honest, it's usually a carb-based item. Hormones and hunger and sleep are so tightly in a relationship. Symbiosis. Oh, nice word. They're joined together, right? It's a very strong relationship between them. So know that, and being aware of that doesn't mean that, by the way, you're going to be less hungry, because I've told you this. You know, we haven't told me this, so it's just it's poor night's sleep. However, having said that, in the moment when I talk to a client afterwards, they'll be like, well, I just didn't know what's happening. I just thought there was something wrong, that somehow I was going wrong with my food or something, so I just ate and I felt bad. And actually, if you stop to consider for a moment and reflect on, right, how bad was my sleep last night? Is this something legit that I'm going to do? Right, I'm going to do it, or am I recognising that I had a bad night's sleep? If I have a better night's sleep tonight, I will make healthier and different choices tomorrow because I will be less hungry. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Your food is okay, it's consistent. You've had a bad night's sleep, and that's increased hunger hormones. So you can, choice and knowledge, right? This education. So again, you can be reflective on it and understand it, acknowledge it, and then move forward. Or you can say, well, I've not had a bad sleep, I'll just eat. Know that there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Your portions are okay. Reach out to your coach in the moment, I think, is always a good idea. And then be able to have that conversation and know what's happening, right? So, recap on that one. Just, I'll have another sip of my tea and then my water, obviously. So, how to feel full and lose weight. It's all about creating calorie deficits. I said that from the top. And all of these are about creating calorie deficits without just not eating at all, right? So let's recap. And then we'll go back over the plant-based as well when I think about it. So protein, right? Good lean protein with each meal is great at reducing hunger. Consider, again, the fat content of the protein you're choosing. That's why I said lean. And when it comes to protein for plant-based, consider the carb content as well. If you're going for something like kidney beans or peas, etc., or any beans or legumes, just be aware of, I don't know why I said peas, that's veg, but anything bean-wise that you're in consideration of your portion, because it will also have a carb portion with it. So always balance those out and just know where you're making those choices. Go for fibre-rich foods, right? Bump up the plate based on vegetables, and you can reduce your calorie intake by 10% because you're not then filling the plate with carbs or fats or more proteins even, right? Pick a solid over a liquid. That will help you keep fuller for longer, because the less dense the item, the easier it is to digest, and we don't want that necessarily. 38% more likely to overeat the next meal if you go liquid. Coffee, in reason. Okay, 2 and done by 1 o'clock if you're going to do them, please. That's the guidelines. Water. Okay, water's a great one. 2 glasses before a meal, and you can have on average 22% less intake because you are fuller and therefore do not need to eat, and also you have the benefits that come with said water. So a reminder, eating mindfully, okay, more pleasure in the eating, right? Think about the indulgence group. I bet they loved that. I bet the indulgence group, like, oh, this milkshake's so indulgent. Oh yeah, I love this study. Right, think about it though. Okay, if you're really engaging in a meal and you're really mindful, it's a massive lesson in how powerful suggestion is. Firstly, in marketing, hugely. However, it's also a lesson in how to feel fuller for longer and stop eating. Like the guys just smashed it back. Again, same calories inside. Dark chocolate, I'm not going to glaze enough long. Dark chocolate, yes it does. You know, we just glaze over that one. Eating on smaller plates. Okay, so eating on smaller plates and larger forks, who knew, right? So eating in smaller plates when you have small portions, like on a bigger plate, as I said, can be disheartening. So make it appropriate. Put it on a smaller plate, makes you feel bigger, right? Feels like you're still having a massive meal. And finally, get sleep. If you are not sleeping through, I mean quality sleep, not quantity, because someone say, oh, I slept for 9 hours last night, I only woke up 5 times. Quality sleep's not there. Know if you have a bad night's sleep or wake often, that's still the same thing. Quality's not great. I've done a whole thing on sleep quite a few times for a reason, because it's very important to get a good night's sleep if you're wanting to do fat loss or weight loss. It will not be supportive without good night's sleep. Your hunger will increase by up to 24%, right, based on a bad night's sleep. That's quite a lot. It could be, obviously, again, it can be psychologically disheartening if you think something's going wrong, I'm just eating. Why have I gone wrong? What's gone wrong? It's not. You've got to wait, kind of reflect again. Have you had a bad night's sleep? If you have, it's okay. Go to bed early, have some water, you'll be fine. Right. Oh, see, now we go to the other side of the coin tomorrow and talk about how to play the Hunger Game. I've got, perfect, because I've actually got a client playing this game tomorrow, so this is perfectly timed. I completely forgot. Look at me, coincidence. So I've got someone playing the Hunger Game tomorrow, so I can actually give you a recap at the end of the day how they got on with it, if they make it through. Right, so tomorrow I'm going to talk about how to play the Hunger Game. In the meantime, as I said, any questions or comments, please fire them away, and have a fabulous evening.